Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the stock market plunges again. President Trump's new 200% tariff threat sending one key market now into correction territory. Also tonight, the new poll showing Americans are concerned by what they're seeing. Also tonight, the major storm moving across the country, the Midwest and Northeast next. And the mother arrested tonight, accused of keeping her stepson captive in their home for more than 20 years since he was a boy. He set fire to the home so authorities would come save him. First tonight, President Trump defiant, escalating his trade war with America's allies. The Dow falling another 537 points today. The S&P 500 slipping into correction territory tonight. The president insisting he's not backing down. And the new poll tonight, what Americans are saying about President Trump's handling of the economy and about his tariffs. Also tonight, will the government shut down? Senate Republicans and Democrats locked in a standoff. Democrats furious with President Trump and Elon Musk's sweeping firings. Thousands of American workers fired. And they're angry over the tariffs. But do Democrats want to be responsible for shutting down the government? Rachel Scott and what she just learned. Tonight, the powerful cross-country storm. A confirmed tornado tonight, severe storms and possible tornadoes moving into the Midwest. Then the system hits the Northeast. Lee Goldberg has the forecast. That horrific case, a mother accused of holding her stepson captive for more than 20 years. The stepson, now 32, weighing just 68 pounds, setting fire to the home, hoping firefighters would come save him. And when asked if he was hungry, he said, all day, every day, my entire life. The major headline tonight in the search for that missing Pittsburgh college student on spring break in the Dominican Republic. Tonight, the International Police Agency, Interpol, now involved in this case. Overseas tonight, Vladimir Putin and what he's now signaling about the U.S.-backed ceasefire for Ukraine and Russia. Putin now saying he wants to talk to President Trump. James Longman in Ukraine. Back in the U.S., the chilling 43-second video tonight emerging in that case of the two girls murdered while on a trail, being followed by the suspect. And now in the video, you can hear what the girls say about the man who was following them. The alarming scene, green flames seen shooting from manholes, students evacuated, an entire campus shut down. And America Strong tonight, you'll remember the 13-year-old girl who famously struggled with the national anthem, forgetting the lyrics. The man who stepped in to help. Tonight, 22 years later, she returns. And you have to see how it goes this time.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night. We have a lot to get to, and we begin here with the stock market plunging again as President Trump escalates his trade war with America's allies. The Dow closing down more than 500 points today. The S&P 500 now in correction territory tonight. All of this today after the president announced a 200% tariff on all wine, champagne, and alcohol from France and other European countries. His retaliation for the European tariffs on American goods that were a response to President Trump's tariffs in the first place. The Dow tonight closing down 537 points, closing at 40,813. President Trump today with NATO's Secretary General visiting, defending his tariffs, saying, I'm not going to bend at all. And tonight here, the new poll just in showing Americans are growing very concerned, weighing in on the president's handling of the economy so far and on his tariffs on our neighbors, Canada and Mexico. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce leading us off tonight.
Tonight, an ominous new sign the president's escalating trade war is taking a real toll on the American economy. The Dow plunging more than 500 points. And for the first time in 2 years, the S&P 500 closing down 10% from its recent peak, going into what's known as correction territory, an alarm bell for investors that the current roller coaster ride is far from over. Still, President Trump insisting he's not backing down from his sweeping tariffs.
You are not going to change your mind?
No, I'm not. Look, we've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all.
In fact, today, Trump vowing to go even further, threatening a 200% tariff on all wine, champagne, and alcohol coming out of France and the European Union, saying it's in response to the, quote, nasty 50% tariff on U.S. whiskey that the EU announced in retaliation to Trump's tariffs on steel and aluminum. Economists warn American businesses will foot the bill for Trump's tariffs and pass the costs along to consumers by raising prices. And Tyler Armstrong, who owns a wine shop in Greenport, New York, worries that's exactly what he'll have to do. 70% of the wine he sells comes from Europe.
I would hope that I wouldn't be paying But I wouldn't be paying $60 a bottle for a wine that I pay $20 a bottle for now, because then a $30 bottle of wine could cost $90 for the consumer.
Trump acknowledges Americans may take a hit, but argues it's worth it, that our trading partners like Europe, Mexico, and Canada need us more than we need them.
Now, there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be very long. But they need us. We really don't need them.
Canadian leaders say that's not true.
We're your largest customer. There's no one that buys more products off the United States than we do. You're going to be paying a lot more for everything right across the board because you can't get aluminum anywhere else. You only produce 16% of your aluminum. We ship in over 60%. So anything that has aluminum, you're going to pay more.
A new Quinnipiac poll shows most Americans are unhappy with Trump's trade war with America's neighbors. 58% disapprove of how he's handling trade with Canada, while only 36% approve. And 56% disapprove of how he's handling trade with Mexico, with 37% approving. Overall, 54% of Americans disapprove of how Trump is handling the economy. 41% approve. Today, I pressed the president. Many American small business owners say they are concerned that these tariffs are going to hurt them. What's your message to them?
They're going to be so much richer than they are right now. And we have many. Yesterday, General Motors was in. They want to invest $60 billion. The people from Facebook were in yesterday. They're going to invest $60 billion by the end of the year.
But those are huge companies. Small business owners like Jeremy Peterson, who runs a pet food company in Windsor, Colorado, doesn't have the time or the money to wait out a trade war.
So we need to take these tariffs off the table so that we can get certainty and move forward, just trying to create a living for us and our family and everyone involved with our business.
And again, David, those Wall Street jitters about this trade war are only getting worse, but the president has said he's not concerned. Meanwhile, tonight, news about the administration's effort to carry out those mass firings. A federal judge ordering that thousands of employees recently fired must be rehired, calling the process a, quote, sham. The White House tonight is blasting the ruling and vowing to appeal it. David.
Mary Bruce leading us off at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you. We turn now to the looming deadline at this hour and this potential government shutdown. Senate Republicans and Democrats are locked in a standoff tonight with this possible shutdown set to happen just more than 24 hours from now. Democrats furious with President Trump and Elon Musk for firing thousands and angry over tariffs and the markets, but unsure what to do and whether they want a shutdown blamed on them. Let's get right to Rachel Scott. She's live on the Hill tonight. Rachel, what have you learned?
Well, David, Senate Democrats are making this last-ditch effort to try to block a Republican proposal to keep the government open, all in protest of President Trump, Elon Musk, and those sweeping cuts across the federal workforce. But late today, Democrats privately acknowledged they do not have the votes. And just moments ago, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said he will be voting to keep the government open. Look, the reality here is that even though Democrats are furious at President Trump's tariffs and those mass firings across the federal workforce, they do not want to be responsible for shutting the government down. So tonight it does appear that Democrats will be helping Republicans avert this shutdown with just over 24 hours to go, David.
And you'll be there, Rachel Scott, live on the Hill for us. Rachel, thank you. In the meantime, to this powerful cross-country storm, millions on alert at this hour. The storm's headed to the Midwest and the Northeast next. Severe storms and possible tornadoes. Storms already battering California. Blizzard conditions in the San Bernardino Mountains. A tornado ripping through Pico Rivera, California around 3 a.m., bringing down trees. First responders in San Juan Capistrano rescuing a driver from a vehicle that was washed right into a rushing creek. This storm on the move at this hour. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our station WABC right here in New York, timing it all out again tonight for us. Hey, Lee.
Hey, David, this storm could be a real wrecking ball as it moves across the country. Now, right now, it's rain and mountain snow confined to the west, but out ahead of the storm, way out ahead of it, a surge of wind and unseasonable warmth, and that's elevating the fire danger. So you have red flag alerts across a dozen states. Now, these places will get rain. By the time we get to tomorrow night, we're starting a multi-day severe weather outbreak. You see that the storm's going to have damaging wind, hail, and tornadoes all the way from Cedar Rapids to Jackson, but St. Louis in the crosshairs, a level 4 out of 5 for severe weather. That's the second highest risk, and that'll go through tomorrow night. Then that shifts to the Gulf Coast, New Orleans to Birmingham on Saturday, even some severe storms up to the Ohio Valley. A weaker version to the East Coast by the time we get into the weekend, but still some damaging winds from Jacksonville all the way to D.C. and Philly. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, we appreciate it. We turn out of that horrific case, a Connecticut mother accused of holding her stepson captive for more than 20 years. That stepson, who is now 32, weighing just 68 pounds, setting fire to the home. He was hoping firefighters would come save him. And when asked if he was hungry when he was saved, he said, all day, every day, my entire life. Here's Whit Johnson.
Tonight, the house fire that led to a shocking discovery in Waterbury, Connecticut. A 32-year-old man who police say had been held captive for more than 20 years. His stepmother, Kimberly Sullivan, arrested.
It's truly a horrifying, and it's beyond comprehension what occurred here.
Authorities responding to reports of an active fire at the home last month, saying they observed a man who was extremely emaciated. His hair was matted and unkempt. He was very dirty, and his teeth all appeared to be rotten. 5'9" and only 68 pounds. According to court documents, he told officers he intentionally started the fire in his room on the second floor using a lighter, hand sanitizer, and paper because he wanted his freedom.
This is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed.
Police say when asked if he was hungry, he stated, all day, every day, my entire life. He recalled drinking water from the toilet because he claimed he was only getting about 2 cups of water per day. The man said he'd been pulled out of school at the age of 11 after the Department of Children and Families was called to their home, court documents stating that he would steal others' food at school, later spending years mostly locked in his room.
That room did have exterior locks on it and a number of different styles of exterior locks.
The 56-year-old stepmother appearing in court today, facing multiple charges, including assault, kidnapping, and unlawful restraint. Her attorney saying she denies all allegations, appearing to place some blame on the accuser's biological father, who died last year.
He's the one that dictated how his son would be raised. She's not the villain she's being made out to be.
And David Sullivan was released on $300,000 bond. The police chief saying they are working to support the 32-year-old man as he recovers from what doctors described as a life-threatening condition. David.
Just a horrific case. Whit Johnson tonight. Whit, thank you. We turn this evening to a new global alert. Tonight, the international police agency Interpol is now involved in the case of that 20-year-old college student from Pittsburgh who vanished while on spring break in the Dominican Republic. Ariel Reshef is there again tonight.
Tonight, the global alert. Interpol now involved in the case of missing 20-year-old University of Pittsburgh student Sadiksha Kananki. The global missing person alert, called a yellow notice, was issued at the request of the Loudoun County, Virginia sheriff, where Kananki's family lives. Officials in the Dominican Republic say Kananki was last seen on this surveillance video walking to the beach with 24-year-old Joshua Reeby around 4 a.m. According to authorities, Reeby captured on hotel cameras returning to his room that morning around 9 a.m. alone. Kananki's clothes and shoes found on the beach. Loudoun County authorities calling Reeby a person of interest. But Dominican authorities tell ABC News Reeby is cooperating and is a witness, not a suspect, telling them that the two were hit by a large wave. They also say he gave them 3 different versions of what happened that night because he was too drunk to clearly remember. Laurel Shriver has known Reeby since he was 8 years old.
Josh would never hurt a girl. I don't know what happened, but there's no way he would have intentionally been any part of any scheme to do something to her.
David, detectives from Loudoun County are here in the Dominican Republic searching for clues. And tonight, the prosecutor here says that they are exploring all possibilities, both accidental and intentional. David?
Ariel Reshef. Ariel, thank you again tonight. Overseas this evening, Vladimir Putin and what he's now signaling about the U.S.-backed ceasefire for Ukraine and Russia. Putin now saying he wants to talk to President Trump. Our chief international correspondent, James Longman, in Ukraine tonight.
Tonight, Vladimir Putin, in his first public response to the US-backed 30-day ceasefire plan with Ukraine, says he broadly supports the idea for a temporary ceasefire, but only with conditions. And that is not what the US demanded. Putin starting with a rare thank you to President Trump. But then saying there are issues that we must discuss with our American colleagues, saying he wants to call President Trump. Those issues include taking back territory seized by Ukraine in Russia's Kursk region, and Putin demanding that in any pause, Ukraine not rearm, train or mobilize troops. At the White House today, with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump said he'd love to meet or talk with Putin, calling the Russian leader's comments very promising. Trump says he told his special envoy Steve Witkoff to discuss Ukrainian territory during his talks with Putin in Moscow tonight.
We've been discussing with Ukraine land and pieces of land that would be kept and lost and all of the other elements of a final agreement.
David, both Trump and Putin said today they want to speak to each other about this deal. Vladimir Putin may have done just enough to keep the White House happy for now, but he has made no commitment to stop his invasion. David?
James Longman again tonight. James, thank you. Back in the U.S., meanwhile, the chilling 43-second video emerging tonight in the case of those two girls murdered while on a trail, being followed by the man who was later convicted. Here's Alex Perez.
Tonight, 8 years after the murders of 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Libby German in Delphi, Indiana, we're now seeing the chilling video recorded by Libby of the final moments with their killer. Key evidence police say helped them capture and convict Richard Allen. Until now, the public had only seen this snippet and heard the murderer's voice. But this 43-second clip, played at trial and just released on a website that supports Allen, reveals the growing panic as Abby asks her best friend if the man following them is still there. You can hear nervous whispering as Libby steps off the trail.
See, this is the path that we go down.
Abby is seen rushing past Libby.
There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
You hear heavy breathing and then footsteps before the voice of their killer. Abby and Libby were ordered down that hill, police say, at gunpoint and killed.
And David, defense attorneys for Richard Allen say they did not release that video. Allen has been sentenced to 130 years and is appealing that conviction. David?
All right, Alex Perez, thank you. When we come back tonight, the extraordinary sight in the skies over the U.S. tonight. Also, the 13-year-old girl who tried to sing the national anthem but forgot the words, returning 22 years later. You have to see this. And next tonight, the alarming scene, green flames shooting from manholes, students evacuated, a campus shut down. More on this in a moment. Tonight, the alarming manhole explosion shutting down Texas Tech University. Green flames bursting from manholes on campus. Reports of a gas odor. Parts of the school evacuated. More than 40,000 students were sent home early for spring break. There's no word on the cause tonight. When we come back, the spectacular sight over the U.S. tonight, what you'll see, and the 13-year-old, the national anthem, and what's now happened 22 years later. To the index, the spectacular sight in the skies tonight. Millions of Americans will see the blood moon total lunar eclipse just before midnight in the east, totality occurring at about 2:25 Eastern time. When we come back tonight, she was 13, singing the national anthem and forgot the words. You might remember this. 22 years later, the comeback in a moment.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Pacific Life, creating financial security for nearly 160 years.
Finally tonight here, the 13-year-old, the national anthem, and her nerves. 22 years later, the comeback. It was the moment seen by millions more than 2 decades ago.
Oh, say, can you see?
In 2003, a young singer, Natalie Gilbert, just 13, singing the national anthem on the Portland Trailblazers basketball court.
We hailed at the stars.
Starting off strong, then the nerves, suddenly forgetting some of the lyrics. Come on. The team's coach, Maurice Cheeks, quickly stepping to her side to help her. That basketball coach soon coaching her.
Oh, the ramparts we watched,
singing with her and then encouraging the crowd to sing too.
And the rockets
Natalie would go on to finish the anthem to cheers. She and the coach would never forget that moment. And now, 22 years later, she walked back onto that court last night, invited back by the team. And who was there? That proud coach, ready to cheer her on again. And just listen.
Oh, say, can you see?
Tonight, Natalie telling us she hopes everyone knows it's okay to make mistakes. It's all about how you recover and become stronger. Lesson for us all on that. Congratulations, Natalie. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.